My wife is originally from Iran, but she was brought up from the age of 3 months old in Israel and had come to England to study English. And she was in Manchester, I was in London, and people who knew both of us thought this would be a good idea to get us together, even though it's a very improbable match. I'm rather tall and my wife is considerably shorter than me, and I'm very fair-skinned and she's dark-skinned, and over the years we've discovered just how far away from each other we are, both on so many levels, and it's been a very creative joining of these two very different souls. But we decided to marry each other within 48 hours of first meeting each other.
Oh man. Oh.
She was in Manchester, I was living in London. I went up to Manchester for a Shabbos. After the Shabbos meal, we met on Friday night. Then we met once again a couple of times on Shabbos by day. We felt it was sufficiently good feeling that we should meet on Sunday morning. And I was scheduled to go home on Monday. Sunday morning we spent many hours walking around the park in Manchester and talking. And Sunday afternoon, the people that, the families that were involved in this shidduch, the various people who knew us where I was staying, they were already baking their cakes for a board on Monday morning, although we had not made up our mind. But the thing I'd like to really tell you about is that on Sunday afternoon, I'm thinking to myself, basically this girl meets with the things I'm looking for and I'm going to jump for it. I'd already met a couple of people also by introduction that I just did not feel there was any chemistry, but here I felt there's enough going, and a philosophy that I have adopted, I try to avoid ever making shidduchim. But people sometimes ask me for advice about shidduchim, and it seems to me that one of the most important things is that you have to pray that your eyes should be open to your basher. It's a matter of having your eyes open to be willing to accept. I mean, reality is always hard to accept. When you're confronted with the reality, it's very hard to realize and accept that this is it. But we have to have our eyes open to check, is the possible partner fulfilling or not fulfilling a fair part of what I'm looking for. I always say to people that if we are looking for shlemut, if we're looking for perfection, there is no perfection in this world. This world is an imperfect world, and forget looking for perfection. You have to look for the best thing that works. And when you find it, don't say, well, maybe something better is going to turn up. But go into it with emunah. Go into it with emunah. And I know that our emunah is very sorely tested. I'm going to be talking about the test to our emunah in this day and age in a little while. But it seems to me that emunah is that for a Yehudi or a Yehudiyah who has a feel for Torah and mitzvahs, no matter where you are on the spectrum, whether you are Charedi, whether you are Masorti, whether you are interested, if you're willing to make a go of it to build a Beit Ne'eman, if you know that the foundation of the relationship is going to be a house of faith that has a Shabbat and has a belief in Hashem and has a belief that everything is sent by Hashem, you can make it work. I mean, they say that there are shidduchim that can only work in heaven. They can't work in this world, and it's better to stay away from them. And it's very hard to find a shidduch that works in this world. To tell you very honestly, as a follower of Reb Nachman of Breslev, one of the most liberating things that I learned from Reb Nachman about married life is that he tells you to do his bodedus. He tells you to go off alone and commune with God. And it seems to me that one of the problems in the world we live in is that there is a kind of fantasy about what a man-woman relationship should be, that it should be totally involving, totally absorbing. And often the reason why relationships break down is because the people cannot attain that level of absorption in each other, and they're actually being inhibited by that level of absorption. And if they would know that there is a validity in being alone, even when you are married, spending time alone and doing stuff alone, the male and the female are two different creatures, and they have to do different things. I live in a community in Yerushalayim which is very segregated between the sexes. And this is something which of course calls down criticism and antagonism from many areas outside of Mea Shearim. But one of the beautiful things about the separation of the sexes publicly is that you get to do your own thing when you need to do it. A man has his needs which are different from his wife's needs. And when the two of them go about their needs, and when they're in the home, alone in the bedroom, that is when they are completely together, they gain strength from doing the things they do differently. I have never once in 30 years, almost 30 years of married life, spent a Rosh Hashanah with my wife. It was a hard fact of existence. She accepted from me back then that she knows I go to the gathering of the Breslover Hasidim on Rosh Hashanah, because what I get out of it comes into the house for the whole year. And so it's worth the loss of the Yom Tov meal and the apple and honey together for the sake of what we get from our Hasidut. And now I'd like to quote Rabbi Nachman on something that he said 200 years ago. 200 years ago, commenting on the situation of the Jews of Russia, Poland. Maybe we think of 5-6 generations ago as a world of Judaism, of faith, of strength. 200 years ago, Rabbi Nachman said, we are now at the edge of holiness. We are now at the edge of holiness. There is something called holiness, which is the holiness of the Jewish people, the way the Torah asks us to lead our lives. And Rabbi Nachman says, we're now at the edge, we're now at the boundary. What is the edge? The edge is precisely where people fall off. And that's the subject of tonight. We are mamish teetering over the edge. We're so bitter and frustrated and sick of the whole thing that we feel that we want to go over the edge. Enough is enough. And it happens not only to people who are not married, it's happening to people who are married. Just go and check out some of the chat sites and what people are talking about. I go exploring sometimes on the Hebrew chat sites in Israel. The biggest chat room on the site is the gays, and the second biggest room is the Charedim. That's what's going on. And they're both overlapping into each one. They're going from side to side. That is where we are at the edge of Kedusha. We're going through a time, and we have to be totally realistic. And I want to bring you Torah not from my mind, but out of my heart, from my relationship with Rav Nachman, as to how we can continue to stay Shomer Torah with the lives that we have in the world we are living, with the challenges we face today. And any doctor who doesn't first confront the sickness and the problem is no doctor. We have to be realistic about what's going on in our communities, in our Shomer Torah communities. Everybody is smoking pot, everybody is doing substances, everybody is, people all over are feeling tested. Married people are talking about extramarital relationships, and heaven knows what the unmarried people are doing.
Nothing.
Exactly. So what is happening here? Why are we, if Rabbi Nachman said 200 years ago, we're the edge of holiness, al achas kama v'kama, today how much more so are we over the edge? And we've seen it. We've